WK2FM, world knowledge to free minds and your behind at the same time as Kamisi Fox. WK2FM is a brainchild of Kamisi Fox and DJ Wicked Wayne. Shout out to Wicked Wayne. Brooklyn's in the house. North Carolina's in the house. Look here. The media continues to downplay, enable, and accept Jalena Ostapenko's unacceptable behavior by refusing to call it what it is, asinine, at best. How do they downplay it? They downplay it by not calling it what it is. First of all, by not calling it asinine, by not saying what happened. Instead of saying that Ostapenko's behavior, that Ostapenko verbally attacked Townsend. Instead, they say what the verbal altercation between the two, or, the back and forth between the two. As if Townsend did something, as if Townsend and her, as if Townsend was heated also. Townsend was responding, obviously, to this maniac's behavior. Townsend was going over to shake her hand, remember? Let me go ahead and show the visuals so people can stop pretending to be dumb. We can see Taylor Townsend was clearly going over there to shake her hand. Taylor Townsend didn't have any static or any beef. She's the one that started it, you see? She's the one that started talking crazy. But in the tabloids, they'll say the back and forth between the two. They would rather say that than to say Ostapenko attacked, verbally disrespected Taylor Townsend. Clearly, that's what happened. Ostapenko verbally attacked Taylor Townsend, and it was very asinine behavior. Instead of calling it an attack or the blatant disrespect that it was, they'll use terms like the back and forth between the two. And this is what I mean by downplaying. Refusing to identify what really happened. Refusing to say that this woman disrespected Taylor Townsend. And refusing to call the behavior appalling, which it absolutely was. But to mischaracterize it as a back and forth between the two, it makes it look like Taylor Townsend was heated also, when all Taylor Townsend did was respond to the attack by Ostapenko, by Ostapenko. So using this manipulative language, refusing to call it what it is downplaying and co-signing and enabling, encouraging this bad behavior. And if a black woman had behaved that way, if Taylor Townsend had behaved that way towards Ostapenko, the reaction would be different. That's not me playing the race card. That's me telling the truth about the only card that they play in America, which is the race card, or the only card that Caucasians play is the race card, especially when it comes to those people classified as black. So let's stop playing dumb and acting like we don't see what we see and acting like it ain't what it ain't when we see that it is what it is. They just ain't calling it that because they not dragging this woman. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I have to take it upon myself to drag the woman. The peers, the tennis peers aren't dragging her either. The tennis peers are doing just what I said. They're downplaying and refusing to identify exactly what this woman did and is doing. In other words, they're like, if this was a court case, the fellow tennis players and the media and everybody are just terrible witnesses. They ain't saying exactly what happened. They're not saying who the perpetrator is. Let's look at how CNN Sports played around with it, how they played the game and refused to say what it is. And They took the opinion of Naomi Osaka. I'm getting these. I don't know why I'm slipping. Osaka. Just say Osaka for right now. Naomi Osaka's comments were everybody's tiptoeing around it, is what I'm saying. You're going to see this. Okay, bear with me, y'all. I got to be quick. Let me go to the part of the article. Let's just go to the start of it. Well, they got Naomi Osaka here saying something. And let's just start from the beginning. Let me go on up here. After Taylor Townsend's straight sets victory against Jalena Ostapenko on Wednesday at the U.S. Open, the two players could be heard exchanging heated words beside the court, with the Latvian saying the American had no class and no education. There you go. That was the attack. The two exchanging heated words. They got that underlined. You know, the two players could be heard exchanging heated words as if it was some commotion that was going on and not a tennis match where everybody's watching what went on from beginning to end. Instead of just saying Jelena Ostapenko, when Taylor Townsend went to shake her hand, Jalena Ostapenko attacked her. That's what happened. Instead of saying that, oh, we just heard some commotion. We just heard exchanged heated words between the two. This is the games they play. Reaction has continued to come in on the encounter with Naomi Osaka, one of the latest players to be asked about the back and forth between Ostapenko and Townsend and the type of language used. The back and forth. Instead of just saying Ostapenko, instead of asking what is Naomi Osaka's opinion about Ostapenko's behavior and what Ostapenko did, instead of putting the focus on the perpetrator, Ostapenko, instead of saying, hey, what did you think of what Ostapenko did? And this is what they would be doing if it was a black woman acting like that. If Angel Reese had done something like this, is how they treat Angel Reese. They don't say the verbal altercation between the two. No. If Taylor Townsend had acted that way towards Ostapenko, they would be asking Naomi Osaka, what do you think of Taylor Townsend's behavior? And the answer would be, I'm really disappointed. I think, this shouldn't happen. It's really sad that, the integrity of our sport, this type of behavior, and that's how it can go. Understand that. Everybody knows that's how it can go, and probably that's how it would go. But, Ostapenko obviously has white privilege with the press. The press is on her side. Obviously, Naomi Osaka is on her side because she's not calling it what it is too. That's what it looks like to me. Listen to what she says. It's been on TV like every 15 minutes, Osaka said to reporters after defeating American Haley Baptiste. See, instead of giving an opinion about Ostapenko's behavior, she's just making general statements. It's been on TV like every 15 minutes. They've been playing it. There's a back and forth. See how everybody's dancing around what the reality is, Ostapenko's unacceptable behavior. So the press, and here you see Naomi Osaka refusing to say what it is that happened. Ostapenko's unacceptable behavior. Nobody wants to say that. Nobody wants to call it that. Nobody wants to identify that. I'm doing it right now. I'm making it plain because, as you can see, the press is playing patty cake with it. She goes on to say, I mean, it's really difficult to say. What's difficult to say? Is it difficult to see what happened? You see Ostapenko attacking Townsend. What's difficult? What's difficult? You turn stupid all of a sudden? Let me finish reading the nonsense. I mean, it's really difficult to say. I think obviously it's one of the worst things you can say to a black tennis player in a majority white sport. Say what? So this is what she had to say. Instead of saying Ostapenko's behavior is unacceptable, she said, I mean, it's really difficult to say. I think obviously it's one of the worst things you can say to a black tennis player in a majority white sport. So, I mean, it's one of the worst things you can say. How is that? Say what? And granted, I know Taylor and I know how hard she's worked and I know how smart she is. So she's the furthest thing from uneducated or anything like that. Instead of talking about Ostapenko, the spotlight should be on Ostapenko and her behavior. Instead of putting the spotlight on Ostapenko's ridiculous behavior, they're just all over the place. And I know that Taylor is smart and it's really difficult. And, you know, when these things happen, blah, blah, they refusing to identify the unacceptable behavior of Ostapenko. She's the problem. She's the perpetrator. She's the one with the stank, unacceptable, ridiculous behavior. But Naomi Osaka and CNN Sports can't seem to put their finger on that. Can they? Let's read on. It goes on to say, but if you're like genuinely asking me about the history of Ostapenko, no, she didn't ask about the history of Ostapenko. You hear that? But if you're genuinely asking me about the history of Ostapenko, I don't think that's the craziest thing she said. I'm going to be honest. The question was not about the history of Ostapenko. The question should have been, what do you think of Ostapenko's behavior? That's what the question should have been. But instead of saying, what do you think of Ostapenko's behavior, they asked her something else, and her answer is still all over the place. But if you're genuinely asking me about the history of Ostapenko, I don't think that's the craziest thing she said. I'm going to be honest. I know I'm not the only one who sees how this is just bullshitting and dancing around the topic and dancing around the elephant in the room, which is Ostapenko's behavior. Do I need to go back? It sounds like they're talking about something that we didn't see. Hold up. I mean, and then she goes on to say, yeah, I think it's, but if you, she says, but if you're like genuinely asking me about the history of Ostapenko, I don't think that's the craziest thing she said. I'm going to be honest. I think it's ill timing and the worst person you could have ever said it to. And I don't know if she knows the history of it in America. What the hell is she talking about? Like black people are so ultra sensitive. That's the worst person you could have said it to. Instead of talking about Ostapenko's behavior, she's all over the place. Talking about it's ill timing. So is there any good time to act like an asshole? To act like a sore losing asshole? It's ill timing. I know I'm not the only person that sees this. I know I'm not the only person that knows how to read. I know I'm not the only person who knows how to comprehend what I'm reading. I know I'm not the only person whose bullshit detector is just blinking red right now. Finally, in this, she says, but I know she's never going to say that ever again in her life. But yeah, I mean, it was terrible. Like, that's really, like that's just really bad. Instead of saying Ostapenko is really bad. Instead of saying Ostapenko's behavior is just terrible. Ostapenko's behavior is just terrible and really bad. They're like refusing to say that. I know I'm not the only person that sees this. I know I'm not tripping, right? I know this. I know this. It might even seem like it, but I know I'm not. Because people's inability to think is what makes it seem like I'm tripping. Why I gotta point this stuff out. Listen to the article, try to cover for her. Now it goes on to say, wait a minute, unbelievable that this is happening. According to Ostapenko, the origin of the argument came from a moment of controversy that's not part of tennis codified laws and instead an act of or lack of, in this case, sportsmanship. Clearly, this woman lacks sportsmanship. It ain't got nothing to do. So you're going to take what she said. Of course she going to say something that it ain't lack of sportsmanship. That's exactly what it is. According to Ostapenko, the origin of the argument came from a moment of controversy that's not part of tennis codified laws and instead an act of or lack of, in this case, sportsmanship. The Latvian explained on social media that her frustrations originated from a moment midway through their second round match when Townsend did not say sorry after being helped by a net cord during a point. Can everybody say this with me? Bullshit. She's just mad because she lost the match. Osaka was asked whether a tennis player should apologize in that kind of situation. What kind of question is this to be asking? Anyway, Osaka was asked whether a tennis player should apologize in that kind of situation. Her answer, honestly, I probably don't care either way, Osaka said, and I definitely wouldn't care to the point where it would affect me that much that I get very angry. I think it's up to the person whether they apologize or not. But if it's really close, I can see why they don't apologize. I'm going to read the last thing that's said right here, and then I'm going to be done with this bullshit. If you don't see it by now, then you won't see it. If you don't see that the press is really just covering it up, that the press, nobody is really dragging this woman for her behavior. They're actually co-signing it, tiptoeing around it, refusing to call it what it is. If y'all don't see it now, you won't see it. I mean, that just means this generation of people is slow and can't think of something other like that. It says, well, I have to say that she's nice. They calling her nice, okay? She just sometimes can lose control, Sabalenka said. This is Sabalenka talking, I guess. She has some things in life to face and some struggles. Yeah, this was Sabalenka talking. Let me go up above with... Yeah, I skipped that line. World number one, Arena Sabalenka. Now, this is the one that was acting sore because she got beat by Coco Gauff. They asked her opinion. She was already, this was this first Becky that was acting sore because they didn't want to admit that Coco Gauff beat her. She didn't really beat me. I mean, she really didn't play that good. So this was devil number one. This is the first one. World number one, Arena Sabalenka told reporters Wednesday she had spoken to Ostapenko after the incident. Quote, well, I have to say that she's nice. So that's the first thing you're going to say, that she's nice. She's just sometimes can lose control, Sabalenka said. She has some things in life to face and some struggles. Okay, that's what you got to say. I was just trying to help her too. I don't know, maybe, I don't know, just not like face it more in mature way, but I was just trying to help her to settle down and kind of like just was someone she could speak to and just let it go, you know. I think she just sometimes can just lose control over her emotions, which is pretty tough. I really hope that one day she will figure herself out and she will handle it much better. After losing in the first round of doubles on Thursday, Ostapenko did not speak to reporters with the United States Tennis Association, citing medical reasons. You hear this bullshit? Citing medical reasons. Why don't you just say she was just pissed the fuck off, like you can see in the video? I'm not going to take this any further. Like I said, if you don't see it, you don't want to see it. If you don't see it, you won't see it. That's the thing about the white supremacist behavior. They don't have to show, you know, they always got plausible deniability. They can always say, nah, that ain't what it is. And you just, I'm white and I say so. But, you know, if you got a brain, half a brain, an ounce of brain, if you know how to read, if you have any reading comprehension, then you know that this entire article was bullshitting and was refusing to hold Ostapenko accountable for her asshole behavior. The article ain't got to say it. Oh, Naomi Osaka ain't going to say it. Slabalenka ain't going to say it. I've got to say it. And it's up to you to see it. They not holding this Ostapenko accountable for her asshole behavior. And it's obvious. It's obvious that the press is on her side. It's obvious that everybody's really on her side. Nobody's really going to hold her accountable. Nobody. The only good thing in this is that all of this bullshit, all of this, you know, triangulating against the black women because the black women are coming heavy. All these black women is flooding tennis. There was another sister that beat another Becky. So, you know, look for some possible more Becky temper tantrums because obviously black women are flooding the zone. And these Beckys are going to have to find a way to deal with it. It's tough on them. Every now and then you might see them flip out like this. Sorry, but we got Venus and Serena to blame for this. These are the same little girls that grew up watching Venus and Serena. And they inspired another generation that is now coming up, flooding the zone, baby. Flooding the zone with that black girl magic, and you crazy Beckys are going to have to find a way to deal with it. And obviously, the press and nobody else is going to hold you accountable for your asshole behavior. So you get to flip out, catch me outside, check me outside this arena, and then you get to down talk it like it is. It really wasn't that. It was really just because of a rule infraction because she didn't say I'm sorry, and she's really nice and blah, blah, blah. So obviously, nobody's going to hold these hoes accountable like Ostapenko and Slabalenka and any other crazy white hoe who gets pissed the fuck off because a black girl outplayed her ass. So she just, they opening the door to more temper tantrums because they know that they're on the way and that these black girls ain't gonna slow down. They're gonna keep whipping your ass and you're gonna have to find a way to deal with it. Ostapenko and Slabalenka and whatever other stupid Becky wants, that ain't got no control of herself. At the end of the day, your lack of sportsmanship, whether y'all want to identify it or not, is not going to cover it. You're going to have to just play better. That's the whole point of competition. You might hate that you lost, but the only thing you can really do is play better. Making up shit, throwing temper tantrums, pointing and acting like a complete, total asshole, ain't gonna get it. And if your behavior is okayed by the press, well then that just shows you what type of people and what type of country we're dealing with. We should already know that by now though. And just like the NFL and the NBA, the tennis league, the Wimbledon and all of that is extremely racist, like all of America is. This is some more of that shameful behavior that you're not going to want to face up to in the future. You want to erase this type of behavior out of history books, just like you're trying to erase the slave trade and all of the ugliness that goes along with that, because it makes you look bad. You look bad because you are bad. And you can't be good, so the only thing you can do is, hey, erase the history books. And just like you know that this racist heifer was mad because Townsend beat her and she don't know how to handle it and she just flipped the fuck out, you don't ever have to admit that, right? Obviously you don't. But we can see it. We know what it is. And at the end of the day, the only silver lining is that, hey, we've been dealing with your shit. And we still dealing with it. So Taylor Townsend, she knew how to handle it with grace. And that's the good thing. So all that covering up and refusing to hold Slabalenka and Ostapenko and whoever the next Becky it is to flip the fuck out accountable, we still handle it with poise and grace. And that's who we are. Ostapenko, you the one with no class, no education, and you a sore fucking loser. Oh, and that's another thing I meant to say about her saying no education and, saying no education and no class. That's just obviously what goes on between Slabalenka and Ostapenko and all of that class of Latvian or wherever they from. They tell that's what's out on the wire. That's what they tell each other. These girls didn't grow up with black women, but that's what they go in the match thinking. The whole match, she's thinking she's playing somebody with low education, and because that's what they tell these women. Obviously, for her to just pull that out of her ass at the end of a tennis match, as the only thing she got because she's really mad because she lost, for her to just say that means that's what they say to each other all the time, that they got low education. So that's the common theme that's been said about black women. And that goes along with the statues, those stupid statues like the one in Times Square. See, it's worldwide, y'all. Don't you see that it's worldwide, that stupid statue, and that's the way people believe? And this Ostapenko, she just vocalized it because she got pissed off and that's all she had left. She lost the damn tennis match, so all she had left was to repeat what she been hearing all this time. Y'all ain't got no education and no class. And that's all she did was just repeat what she's been hearing over and over and over again, and it just slipped out of her mouth just like, hey, it's what she been hearing. She lost, and so that's all she had to spit back at her. You ain't got no education and no class. Yeah, it's obvious that that's what they've been saying to each other, but obviously we all looking at it. We're looking at Ostapenko. We listen to Slabalenka make an excuse. Y'all the ones ain't got no education and no class. You're talking about yourself, Becky, but you perceive it not. I'm here to tell you, whether you want to face it or not, well, I don't expect you to, sore losing asshole. Taylor Townsend outplayed and outclassed you. And she continues to outclass you now that your ass has been eliminated. Now you get to take your ass back home to Latvia and watch her outclassing you. You get to sit and think about your stupid actions. Maybe one day, when you get some personal growth, like Slabalenka said, you realize that you were misled about black people. Even if you do get that memo, I don't expect you to acknowledge it. It ain't in your interest as a temper tantrum Becky to acknowledge that you're wrong and that you were wrong about black people. But we don't need your acknowledgement. We're just going to continue to be excellent in the face of your no class ass. Y'all can keep being phony, keep being fake, keep fronting, keep refusing to develop, refusing to grow, and we're going to continue being excellent. Because at the end of the day, Taylor Townsend drops the facts of the matter. Wait a minute. I got something to show. Since Ostapenko is at home in Latvia, maybe she can learn something and realize you can't stop that black girl magic, because right after you got your ass whipped and you showed your ass, this happened. Yeah, I know you don't like to see it. Yup, that's right. Another sister won. And look, this is what you should have did, Ostapenko. Just accept your loss gracefully. You see that? That ain't hard, is it? Yeah, and all them people, that's how you're supposed to do it right there. No strange, weird stuff. No getting mad, talking about somebody didn't say I'm sorry and because it's this reason and that reason. No making up shit. Just act like you got some damn sense and accept your defeat like a grown person. Go on and take your medicine and chill the fuck out, because you're not going to stop this black girl magic. Is here. These are the young'uns that grew up looking at Venus and Serena. They set it off, and it's on now.
I can't speak on what her intentions were. I can only speak on how I handled the situation. And how I handled it is someone who's upset about the outcome that occurred. You lost, and you're upset about that. Saying I have no education and no class, I don't really take that personally, because I know that it's so far from the truth. The thing that I'm the most proud of is that I let my racket talk, because ultimately I'm the one here sitting in front of you guys, moving on to the next round, getting the next check, moving on, being able to still be here and speak to you guys. And that's what's the most important. She's packed up and she's gone. 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 She's packed up and she's gone.
Yep, she's packed up and she's gone. Out of here. Ashe.